It's time for the next project. While I wait for my drawer system to be made, I've decided to get going on the next project, and that is going to be the custom built roof console for my 80 series Landcruiser. Now, I don't know if any of you have priced what roof consoles cost. They are, for me in South Africa, it is hellishly expensive, and I reckon I could produce a custom built one for my needs for half the price of a bought one with all the LED lights and everything else in it. So I've decided to build my own. Come with me and I'm going to show you the process involved in making a plug firstly, taking a mold off of that, and finally producing a fiberglass product, and then either covering it or fairing it and painting it. But in my case, it's going to be covered with some kind of vinyl or some kind of fabric covering. So I'm not going to be too particular about the finish on the final product, because it's going to all be covered. Anybody who would like one of these is welcome to ask me to fair it, and I will fair it and prime it, and they can paint it any color they want. It'll be as good as any other product out there after that. But let's dive into it. Now, as I progress with this, all of this gap, as you see it here, is going to be covered with another layer of polystyrene, because the final product is actually going to be quite a bit higher, or roughly 2 inches, 50 millimeters higher than what you see here. Get my hand in there. So I am going to be putting a complete layer of polystyrene over it like that, but it will cover the entire thing this way up until here, and then this angle will be cut into that layer. So this is the final height. That is the final height, and there will be another 50 millimeters added onto here. This front section, once I have finished the rest of it, I'm going to be adding a front section onto here that will taper in with the sun visors and also tie in with the mount for the rearview mirror, and that will become the forward mount for the roof console. The rear mount for the roof console is going to take over what is now the roof mount, or the mount for the interior light. The interior light will eventually move to the back side, or to the bottom of this. I will have a radio in the back here, and then I have a very nice radio which I'll be showing to you sometime in the future. The faceplate is removable, and the face will be going onto here with a cable going through to the radio, which will sit inside here. So at the moment, that is the basic construction of it. Once I start shaping it, or rather once I have covered it with polystyrene completely, and I'll show you this will be the side that eventually faces the roof lining. You will see it is not a straight line. I've shaped that more or less to fit my roof lining. So it will be pushed up tight against the roof lining, and that will conform to the roof lining. Alrighty, what you're looking at now is basically the finished product. You'll note I haven't done anything as far as the front side of it, where it picks up on the rearview mirror mount. The reason for that is handling it now is a bit of a problem, because it gets dirty as well as my fingers push dents into the foam, which will have to be filled at the end of the day. So it's just creating work for myself. I'm going to now give this a layer of thin glass to give it some strength and to make it hard, and also so that I can fair it, because these surfaces aren't perfectly flat. You might notice there's a little bit of a hollow over here, which I will use filler after it's glass to perfect the shape properly, and which I will paint eventually. But I need to get some glass onto this thing to make it now hard, so that I can handle it properly without damaging it. The two mounting places for the interior lights, the LED interior lights, I've done, they're finished, and you will see that I have created these little pads. I've changed my mind regarding the radio. I was going to put the classical CB radio in here, but it's really impractical. I can't get to it from the driver's seat. I can't see the display. I don't know what channel it's on because it's literally behind my head. So I've decided to put the radio crossways and mount it here. Now, because this thing is tapered, it is narrower on the, which this is the bottom that faces down, than it is on the top. It's wider here, so if I just cut a hole in the side and put the radio in, it would actually sit at an angle. So, and it's going to be a really tight squeeze to get the radio in here. So I've created these little pads, you can say, where the radio goes in, that will put the radio square to the bottom, flat with the bottom. Parallel to the roof lining, in other words. I've also done exactly the same thing on this side. You will see I've managed to break a piece of foam out of here, but that's not a problem. I will fill that up or just glass over it and then fill that corner in with filler. You won't know it once I've taken the mold. But I've put this one here so that anybody with a left-hand drive vehicle could use the same unit as this if they wanted to one day and put a radio in either side. So it also helps create a little bit more room on the opposite side because it is going to be a really tight fit. The antenna fittings and the power plug on the back of the radio are going to be really, really tight. So yeah, that is it. This is basically how you develop a plug to make a mold. The real work starts only once you've actually glassed it or given it a layer of glass, and once you start fairing it. Then you've got to get it really nice. Now is the finished product, or the finished plug I should say. It's not the final product yet. I have taken that polystyrene mold, covered it in fiberglass, epoxy glass. Please remember, if you are using polystyrene foam, never ever use polyester resin. It will eat up the polystyrene foam and you will have nothing left of your shape within a few minutes. So I covered this in epoxy resin and thin fiberglass, a fairly thin layer, just to give it a little bit of strength and rigidity. And then I went and I finished it off with, firstly, an epoxy filler where there was ever any chance of the polystyrene still being exposed, so that I didn't dissolve the foam with polyester fillers. Once I had sorted all of that out, I gave it a coat of primer, and then I went ahead and I finished filling it and sanding it and shaping it with standard off-the-shelf polyester body filler. Very cheap stuff, and it works nicely. It sands nicely and leaves a very decent product. Once I'd finished with that, I'd gone ahead and I gave it another good coat of MS High-Build primer, which I sanded down very carefully, and then, as you see it now, I've given it a coat of black finishing coat. It was actually, I took it to work, and the spray painters at work they were busy spraying some matte black on an aircraft, and I just said, well, give it 2 coats of that and I will flat it down and polish it up after that. So what you see here now is the final plug ready to be taken, or ready for a mold to be taken off of it. I've now given it one final wax. I'm just waiting for the solvents to dissolve off or to evaporate out of it, and then I'm going to give it one final rub, and then I'm going to go ahead and paint it with a coating of gel coat to give it a nice smooth finish, and then I will cover that with some fiberglass. Once that is all set, then I will pull the mold off of this product, and then only will I be able to clean the mold up, wax that thoroughly, and then lay up my final products in the mold. So here we go. Mold making like this is actually a very satisfying process at the end of the day, and very creative too. So yeah, I will come back to you once I have finished laying up the mold. I'm not going to bore you with laying up fiberglass or painting gel coat over this. Just know that this is going to be polished up nicely now, rubbed up nicely. You don't rub too hard and too much, otherwise you'll rub the wax layer away, which is your release agent. If you get this stuck up onto your mold when you lay it up, you're pretty much going to destroy this plug entirely. So there we have the plug ready for a mold, and it's starting to look really nice, I must admit. Okay, finally I've got around to it. Those of you with a keen eye will notice the background has changed. Sacrifices had to be made, unfortunately, and I have had to make a move from my previous digs to this new place, which is a lot smaller. This is the mold for the roof console that I am making, and some people on my Instagram post did guess what it was, and I suppose my tags in the post gave it away. But anyway, I've managed to finish the mold and a product from this mold. I'm going to show you the product now. Before I do that, I must explain, you'll probably be asking, why is it so deep? And where is the cubbyhole or whatever to store stuff in? This roof console, at least the one for me, is only a unit that is going to hold radios and switches, nothing else. It's not a storage compartment. I'm not intending it to be a storage compartment. I had to make it so deep because inside it is, I have a radio that I'm putting with the, just move it here, I'm putting with the face. It's got a removable face, and it's this size. I'll show you there. It is almost full size. It fits on here, but the radio section of it is quite a big bulky thing, and it's quite heavy, and it has to go inside here. I also have an antenna tuner that goes inside here. It's a dual band radio, so I'm going to be using two antennas with it, with an antenna tuner. So the tuner goes inside here as well. I'm also putting a very old school CB radio, and I'll show that to you in a minute. The CB radio, I've made these raised sections to bring the edge. You see, this thing is tapered. It's narrower at the bottom, what will be the bottom, to the top, and which makes it skewed, makes it easier to get out of the mold for starters. But I didn't want the radio sitting at an angle, so I've made these little raised sections, and my radio is going to go in here. I've made one on the other side as well. Actually, this is the side that's not going to get a radio, because this will turn out to be the left-hand side of the car, and it's a right-hand drive vehicle. So my radio is going to go in on the other side of it. Show you there. There's the little raised section, and my radio is going to be going on that section. So, without any further ado, I'm going to whip this product out of the mold, which I've already done. I've actually already started mounting my interior lights and things to it, and I'm going to be revealing to you in this video where my interior light is going to go. It is no more, I suppose it is reachable from the front seats, but it is no longer going to be an interior light for the front of the vehicle. I'm going to show you what I've done in that regard. Really nice idea. So my original interior light is now going to be mounted as far back on this as possible. You're going to see the hole that I've already made in the product for that. And as I said, CB radio in the side, and the other radio here, and all the goodies, all the electronics and stuff inside. I'm also toying with the idea of putting some switches on this flat section, although it's not that easy to read any labels that might be on there. I'll make that decision later. But my microphones are going to hang on the sides and that kind of thing. So stand by, I'm going to put this down and I'll move the camera, and then I'm going to bring you back and I'll show you the rest of it. I'm about to take the product out of the mold, but before I do that, you need to know something. This product, I never intended the final finish on the outside to be the final finish. As in, take it out of the mold, clean it up and put it in the car. It was always meant to either be painted afterwards or to be covered with either a fabric or leather. In this case, I have sourced some very nice, just slightly off-white or light grey leather, and this unit is going to be covered in that before I do the final installation. So don't be surprised if the finish is not absolutely perfect. Another one thing you need to remember is the mold is black because before I took the mold, or before I laid up the mold, I put down a layer of black gel coat onto the plug that you saw me carving. I put the layer of black gel coat over that, and then I laid up the glass. So the mold is actually black inside. Now I've used that same black gel coat just to give the final product. I also painted that into the mold before I laid up the glass for that. But as you know, for the international guys, we have what we call load shedding in South Africa, as our power gets turned off for hours at a time, quite often these days. But it just so happens that the night after work, when I came home, it was already dark when I laid up this product, or when I put the gel coat in anyway. It happened to be load shedding, so there was no power. I had a headlight on my head, and I had my car, which is standing right here. I had my car's headlights on, and I painted the gel coat into the mold like that. And when I took the final product out of the mold, I discovered that I had missed a little square in a section of the mold, and I'll show you that right now. But it really doesn't matter because, as I said, this thing is going to be covered at the end of the day. If anybody wants a console, wants to order a console from me like this, I haven't set a price or anything yet. I haven't even produced one yet for selling for the market. This one is mine, it's the prototype, and I might still even do a few changes on it. But if anybody wants one, they will be available in black or possibly grey. You are welcome to sand it down, give it a good flat and a good paint to the color you want, or to cover it yourself. I might even go as far as, if I can find a decent source of leather and somebody who can actually do a really nice job of covering it, I might sell them ready covered. But then if you want to make holes, custom holes and stuff like that, it's not that easy. You've got to go in there and cut the leather. I'm going to make all my holes first before I even cover this thing. But anyway, it's time to take it out of the mold now. I'm going to show you the hole that I made for the original interior light, which is now shifting back just slightly. As I said, there's going to be new interior lights for the front seats. But let's take it out and let's have a look. So there we go. There's the final product. It's very light. This one is a little bit thin. I suppose it could have been a little bit thicker. In the next one, I will definitely make it thicker, but I think it'll be fine. Once it's got all the mountings on it, you will notice this little section on the front here. I put that there so that there's going to be a steel plate fiberglassed into it there, and it will stick out the front, and then it will have two holes, matching holes that match with the rear view mirror, or the standard rear view mirror for the car, and that's how it will be held in the front. At the back, the original interior light screw holes, those are going to be the same holes that will hold this thing. Please excuse the lighting, and also there's a little bit of wind outside here, but I've just got it propped up inside the car now. As you can see, it mates up with the back side of the rear view mirror mounting, and it doesn't look like I'm going to be using the rear view mirror or be able to use the rear view mirror unless I put a spacer there and mount it lower. The rear view mirror doesn't really see past the console itself. But my back is going to have a pretty high draw system and everything else in it, so I don't think I will be able to see out of the back window anyway at the end of the day, because on top of the draw system on the forward edge, I'm going to be having a cargo bay, and there will probably be stuff mounted on that too. So I'm not too worried about the rear view mirror. But there you can see, those are the interior lights, and let me just get my hand in here. On this face, move the camera, on that face will be my dual band radio face. It's going to come onto there. This is the touch button interior lights that I've put in. That is my Cobra 148 GTL CB radio, and as you can see it is just sitting in the hole. It's actually got to be mounted from the inside. It still needs all its mounting bracketry inside to hold it down. It's just hanging loose there at the moment. And there's the interior light right at the back. I'm going to move the camera to what would be the back seat, or what is the back seat, and I'll show you the angle from that side, the view from that side anyway. But that is the console. In my application, this depth, I could have moved this face quite a lot forward, because I'm not utilizing the space here with a radio that actually gets cut in and fits inside here, but other people might. That is why I left it deep. I might use this space for some relays and stuff like that. I've got an idea for a switching panel that will switch on work lights and all sorts of stuff on top of the roof rack, all from here, but with only a very thin 5-core or 7-core cable, depending on how many lights you want to individually switch, or how many circuits you want to individually switch. I might put the panel inside here, and maybe some switches on the side. I don't know yet. I could even possibly fit in a switch or two either side of the radio face over here, or under here, or as I said, where these wooden blocks are propping this console up at the moment, I might even put some switches there. But let's get to the back and take a view of what it looks like from the back seat. There we go. This is more or less what would be the back seats. I've actually got the back seats folded up at the moment. The camera is basically, if I had been sitting in the back seat, this would be the back view of the console. You can see I've got another radio there. That is an emergency radio, never be used other than in an emergency. I'm not going to elaborate on the details of it, but yeah, it's going to be for an emergency. My primary communication device will be the dual band radio up front, which can do citizen band as well. The old Cobra 148 GTL in the console there is just a cool factor. I will use it. It will be connected. It will be live. It will have its own antenna, dedicated antenna, and the dual band in front will be able to do its function as well. So yeah, that is my console, and it is basically finished now. All I need now is to finish up the bracketry inside it. I want to get to a stage where I don't need to drill any holes in it anymore. Once that stage is reached, then I can have it covered with the leather and go ahead and put my dual band radio and everything and the antenna tuner, mount it all inside, and then get it mounted permanently. I think it's going to look absolutely stunning.